Hey, it's Neil Mackay, the podcast guy, with a special episode of Smarter Podcasting. During the pandemic, I launched the 7 Million Bikes website with the help of a developer friend who set it up for me, created an account on Elementor for me to build it, then set me free. Luckily, being stuck at home meant that I had a lot of time to work on it. I had to learn so much in a short space of time, and one of the most important things I had to learn about was SEO and domain authority for my website. I started to write blogs at the same time about lots of different things, about 30 different pub quiz team names, the best places to get alcohol and food delivered during the lockdown, why I became a comedian, and what does the name 7 Million Bikes mean? And I can tell you that another time. At the time, the 7 Million Bikes brand encompassed podcasts, comedy, and events. I had started running a podcast first, then I started doing comedy, started running my own shows, and then started running events like quiz nights and even music gigs before the pandemic. Now, as you can imagine, building a business based on live events during a pandemic was pretty challenging. I was getting lots of praise for how much I was doing, and on the face of it, it seemed like things were going well. But in reality, while I was doing well at lots of things, I was being successful in none of them. And by success, I mean making enough money to earn a living. I was busy, but none of it was really building anything sustainable. Then a young marketing graduate posted on Facebook that she wanted to write blogs for her portfolio and experience. As soon as I talked to her, I was instantly impressed by her energy, her enthusiasm, and most of all, her knowledge. She knew way more than me about SEO, domain authority, writing blogs, keyword research, all the stuff I needed for my website. I remember when we were eventually let out of the house, we met for coffee and she tried to explain to me that I should focus on just one thing. If I wanted to build my domain authority and SEO, I couldn't write blog posts about lots of different things. That's not how Google works. But I didn't really listen. I'd been through a workshop with a business consultant, and I decided with him that the 7 Million Bikes brand was an entertainment brand. Podcasts, comedy, and events. These were all entertainment and they could all be promoted that way. By the end of the pandemic, I realized that I couldn't build a business based on events. Not when they can be taken away from you at a moment's notice. So I reluctantly decided I needed to focus on just one thing. The thing that I loved doing the most and that had changed my life, podcasts. During this time, I also redesigned my website to focus on that one thing, podcasting. I removed all blog posts about comedy or quiz nights, removed the event calendar, and anything not related to podcasts. I finally understood what Anii had been trying to explain to me. For a website to rank on Google, it needs to focus on just one thing, and it's going to be podcasts. Go look at my website now, 7millionbikes.com, and that's what you'll see. It's completely different to how it was when it started. And since I made that decision to focus only on podcasts, my business grew instantly. To the point where I now work with podcasters across the world to help them build their audience and connect with their community. And I can earn a full-time living from my hobby. And hire other people to help me do that. As part of this rebranding, I changed from just 7 Million Bikes that did everything to just 7 Million Bikes Podcasts. I put my long-standing show that launched my podcasting career on a long hiatus, even though the downloads were bigger than ever. And I started this podcast, Smarter Podcasting, to help share what I've learned with you. And one of the things that I have learned over the years is the importance of putting out content, even if it's not technically yours. Which brings me back to that marketing graduate who started writing blog posts for me, Anii Hoang. We've stayed in close contact over the years and it has been amazing watching her growth. Anii has now created her own podcast and YouTube channel called the Aspiring CMO, which stands for Chief Marketing Officer. If you're like me and didn't know what that meant, I had to ask her. She now shares digital marketing and entrepreneurship insights from real results, stories, and people. And I can't tell you how impressed I am with her content. And Anii invited me to be a guest on her show. Now, this last week, I've been on vacation with some friends and my wife to celebrate her 40th birthday. I shut off my phone and my computer and didn't do any work. but that also meant I didn't have an episode for this week. Now, I recommend to anyone to have at least 3 episodes recorded ahead of time for situations just like this. But I'm just not wired that way. I like to do things last minute. Shh, don't tell anyone. So I asked Anii if I could share my interview with her on the Aspiring CMO with you. And she said yes. Thanks, Anii. Not only though is this a win for me, this is also great exposure for her show to a new audience. Whether you're desperate for a new episode or not like me, this is a great strategy to maximize the exposure of being interviewed on other podcasts. While I wouldn't make it a condition of being interviewed on another podcast, I recommend for any interview that you do, ask afterwards if you can share that episode on your channel, but give full credit to them with links back to their show. So with full credit to Anii Hoang from the Aspiring CMO, here's my interview with her about how to run a podcast to get more customers and clients. Enjoy.